Welcome back to First Things First. We're joined by former NFL coach Eric Mangini. A lot of secrets going on over here.
Coach said when he get a job, I'm the receiver coach.
Nice.
Oh, no. I already know he needs a very high salary.
Ain't no salary cap for the coaches, though.
No, there really isn't.
You ain't going nowhere for cheap either.
No, I'm not.
Can I run the calisthenics department?
We can talk about that.
Okay, so yes. The NFL draft is 15 days away. Stop staring at me, Nick. I feel it behind me. Of the 10,000 questions out there surrounding the top-tier quarterbacks, Eric Mangini, it seems like most of them aimed at former UCLA quarterback Josh Rosen. Is he too slight of frame? Is he too arrogant? Is he too cocky? Is he too rich? 2 chains? Rosen addressed these concerns in an interview to ESPN. He said, quote, "My family isn't like stupid wealthy, but I'm coming from a place where if football doesn't work out, I don't have to work at McDonald's. Other NFL players had the same opportunities. I just haven't tried to hide it or fool teams into thinking I'm someone I'm not. My passion for this game lies in the game, not my need to play it. Tons of players needed this game, needed the money and played it out of obligation and burnt out. I don't need it, and still I give everything to it." First of all, Coach, what were your reactions to Rosen's comments, and is that stuff that you factor in when you're drafting a player?
Yeah, you're going to look at all the things that a player says. I was more concerned about the fact that he said he's going to win 7 Super Bowls. If Brady wins 6, I'm going to win 7. That was the whole Mae West thing. Look, if you got to tell people you're a lady, you're not. And I had a problem with that. I'd much rather in this interview he talked about the traits that he wants to emulate from great quarterbacks like Brady, whether it's his work ethic, his commitment, his courage, his selflessness, his competitiveness, any of those things. Now, in fairness to Josh, I've heard that he's too smart. You know, that's one of the knocks. I would much rather my quarterback be really smart. And then, look, if he wants to talk about global warming, great. We'll talk about that as long as he can read the defense, get to the pre-snap read, get us to the right place. Though too smart is to me a high-class problem. I'd rather that than the alternative.
What was interesting about this interview, if you read it in full, is he says repeatedly in the interview, "I've gotten myself in some trouble with some comments I made as a freshman." He's like, "That's when I brought up what my parents did. I shouldn't have done that. I should have let that go by the wayside. Like, I was naive in making some of these comments." But he then, in that same interview, I think makes some comments that, you know, 4 years from now, as opposed to 4 years from his freshman year, will be saying, I probably shouldn't have said that McDonald's line. Like, CC came in, we were talking about this morning, and every time, he's heard that McDonald's line 3 times. And each time, you have a reaction to it. Like, it irks you. It seems to bother you that his comparison.
My mom was working a minimum wage job when I was a kid. All right? My mom had 7 kids before she was 25. Now, she also went back and got her master's degree when she was 50. So don't try to act like you got the world figured out. And there are some people that start off in places like that and go on to be high achievers. So my biggest problem is not with the answers. My biggest problem is he don't know the NFL. That's what I was trying to explain to Nick. He don't know what he's talking about. I told him I had a problem with the championships. If he gets drafted by the Jets, imagine him saying that to a veteran. The veteran ain't even been to the playoffs 6 times. So for me, he's just naive. We love smart people in the NFL, but it's not a matter of what you know. When you're a quarterback, it's a matter of what you can teach and what you can communicate. And where will guys follow you? And when you have the type of attitude that I don't need to be here, you tell that to an NFL locker room of grown men, where we're trying to point out, we'll do what the other people won't do. And it just doesn't play well. You know, you can be smart and also be stupid. And that's what a lot of his comments to me are.
Yeah, and you want to be smart without being smug. And you can celebrate the success that your family's had, and look, there's an issue with any family that's successful with the next generation. Are they going to be as hungry as you were?
And that's not only in the league, that's any profession.
Yeah, that's in life, and you want your kids to be that hungry, and I think that's what he was trying to communicate through his comments. Did he do it as well as he could have? No, but there's a lot of guys in the draft process that say things that you're like, oh my God, why would you ever in a million years say that? And he may be a little bit of a victim of that.
So I asked you if this is stuff that you factor in when you draft a player. Tell me what you saw here, what you heard here, that would sort of translate onto the field, that would affect how you think he would be as a player? Is it all just how he relates to the players in the locker room, the veteran players, or is this something that can affect the quarterback position?
No, it's also how he relates to the coaching staff. And there's been a knock on him that he asks too many questions. He wants to know why. To me, that's not a problem. I think coaches and teachers have a responsibility to be able to explain the why to players and to their students.
Okay.
And then this generation, not this generation, but you're not going to run through a wall just because someone tells you to run through a wall. That's not how it is anymore in football. And there's been a lot of coaches through time that have sent guys through the wrong wall. So I'm okay with him asking those questions. And in the draft process, you're going to look at the whole story. There's a great story that one of the New York Jets beat writers had recently where it talks about Josh Rosen in high school. There was a trip that the team was going to go on. Each player needed $1,500. Josh obviously had the money, but he went out and set up an initiative to raise the money for all the other players on the team without asking anybody else to be involved. He took that initiative. To me, that also demonstrates leadership. So you got to look at the whole picture of the player, not just the snippets.
When CC says, like, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, essentially, there's one of my favorite moments from this show, and I think you were out here for it, was when I was talking about how so many coaches butcher the clock management situation at the end of games, that to me, it's a mathematical equation. It would be very simple to just have a clock management consultant, a guy, I think I said, from MIT, whose only job is on Sunday stand by the coach and just say, hey, timeout here, no timeout here. And Chris almost threw his hands up. He's like, okay, you just tell me how he reacts when a 320-pound D lineman walks up to him, drops an MF on him and says, why are you here? You tell me how he has the mettle to deal with that. You're MIT guy. And the reason I remember that moment vividly is because I wasn't doing that math on it. I was simply just doing the regular math on it. Like, they're bad at this. This guy would be good at this. It would cost almost nothing. Why not do it? And CC's point was, in the real live environment, that's not tenable. What you've talked about with Rosen, whether it's fair or not, what these comments set him up further is in the real-life environment in the locker room where he's not the best player on the team anymore. He's not the golden child quarterback who's going to be a top-5 pick of the draft. He comes in, what, third on a depth chart? How he's treated in minicamp, how he's treated on the practice field, the contact and violence to which he is subjected to throughout his rookie season, and whether or not he is able to sustain that. That's where that's your bigger concern than anything about his parents' wealth or any comments he's made.
When you're dropping back in the pocket, it don't matter how much your parents is worth. Can you take a hit right on your chin? All right? Do you have the wherewithal to study? He doesn't have. To me, I'd be more concerned about my body. I'll be concerned about getting my arms stronger. I'll be more concerned about, man, how do I take over? How do I lead grown men? He talks about winning 7 championships. We could keep him in the Pac-12 for 10 more years. He wouldn't win 7 Pac-12 championships. He had no high achiever, no great leader at UCLA. So trying to tell me you know about pro football and trying to use these examples of, oh, yeah, my parents are this. If I didn't have football, I wouldn't have to work at McDonald's like the rest of these guys. To me, that's a little standoffish, it's a little pompous, and it doesn't come off well. It's hard for young people to lead an NFL team, let alone someone who doesn't have the connective to understand where guys come from and being able to, man, the NFL locker room is the melting pot of all melting pots. And if you don't understand that before you go in, you set yourself up for failure.
Is that a red flag to you? Would this be what he said? Would those comments be a red flag?
Chris's point is very important. There is a cross-section of society in an NFL locker room. And on the offense, you're going to have that same cross-section of society, and you need
What if you have teammates that they have siblings or parents or people close to them that work at McDonald's? How do you think that would play for them?
And the other thing about the McDonald's comment that I think one of the reasons it rubs you the wrong way is, the point is, everyone going into the NFL draft, it should none. All of these guys went to college. Most of these guys in pro football are college graduates. The idea that for the guys whose families don't have money, that the fallback plan is McDonald's was insulting to you, correct? Like, if you didn't make it in the league, your fallback.
It seemed a lot of privilege to it to me.
Yeah, and it was.
It seemed it seemed like a lot of white privilege to me.
And look, he's had a lot of white privilege, and the question is whether or not he's going to be able to go into that locker room and relate to guys, and that would be the concern from the coaching staff is he going to be able to lead when you put him in that position where you need leadership?
Okay. Coach, stick around. Coming up, how seriously should the Patriots be considering life after Tom Brady? It's next on First Things First.